Live video. Gonna hang on for a couple of minutes so people can log on. Guys, it has been so long. So long. AJ's in the house. AJ, I hope I have your permission to share a story about you. You know, as a runner, as somebody who's into running, I haven't run nearly as much as I was the last couple of months, but I was hanging out at Victory Club downtown, which is one of the establishments of these incredible guys, veterans, who have just expanded one of the most incredible parts of Salem right now, which is the beer scene. And AJ, I just have to say something interesting about you that I know when I run, and a lot of people that I'm close with have this capacity to just like, we go run, we post pictures, we show how many miles we ran, we talk about what we're gonna do about it. And most of you don't know, but AJ, one of our local guys, I don't ever see a post about this guy running. It's just, he's got this thing about him where he concentrates himself on the business stuff and community relations and just helping people be better people and helping businesses grow. And I mean, this guy is a phenomenal person. So shout out to AJ Costin. But one of the things I've noticed is nobody knows when you run. I don't ever see anything about you other than all of a sudden you just ran a marathon. And then all of a sudden you're running a 50-miler. And so I'm going to definitely be a part of the journey with you when we run the first Salem Marathon coming up here in a couple of months. But anyways, kudos to you for your insight and everything you do in the community. So Sunday sermon has been a long time. I'm just going to jump right into it. We're going to keep it at about 10-15 minutes. And I know I've said that a lot and I don't follow through, but I'm going to do it, okay? So it's glad to be back. It has been a long time. And let me just get one thing clear, okay? Because we've got two types of people that participate and want to watch these Sunday sermons and want to share with people. Do not confuse sermon, the word sermon, with something churchy, with something religious. That's not what it is. Can the word sermon mean something in a religious capacity? Yes. But that's not what I'm doing here, okay? Another translation for sermon, which derives from the Latin word, I believe it's pronounced sermo, serma, is the word conversation. So it's really a Sunday conversation. So I spend a lot of my life, just to give you a background if you're joining for the first time, I spend a lot of my life working with people in the area. I do some clinical work in the area of addiction for a fabulous company here in Salem called Bridgeway Recovery Services. When I joined that company in one way or the other 7 years ago, there was about 35 employees. Now there's over almost 160 employees at this time. And so just an incredible company that's been growing because of their business model, the work they're trying to accomplish. Our CEO is just an incredible visionary of how to manage a business and how to work with people. So he's a great guy. His name's Tim Murphy. It's a fabulous company, so I serve there. A lot of you know that I also have my own business. I have a consulting company where I do a lot of work with in the area of life coaching and executive coaching. I provide a lot of trainings for organizations in the area of workplace culture. That's just how to develop workers, how to get workers in alignment with the vision of generally the founders or people leading the organization. And then the third thing that I do is I get hired to do a lot of keynote speeches. I speak to students all around the country. I've got national stuff, but I've got local stuff that's just meaningful to me. Next week will be one of my favorites. I get asked by Blanchette to come be a speaker for them regularly. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing one of my favorite people in the world, Danielle Wise. So with that being said, just all of those different things that I do seem to fuel conversations, and more importantly, seem to give me a really good pulse on the condition of people's hearts, what it is that people are experiencing in their life, in their world, whether they live here, whether they live in New York, whether they live in San Antonio. So people will will converse about things that are deeply meaningful for them, things that are hurting them, things that they're suffering through, things that they need prayer for, things that they are trying to overcome in their life. And those are the things that have fueled the onset of Sunday sermons, and those are the things that brought me back. So I took a break. Most of you don't know this, but I'm pretty open and honest about my own life. Just like as many of you currently or recently or maybe in the future, the last month or two have been an overwhelming black cloud hanging over my head, and I have to wear two hats in the midst of this overwhelming storm. One is, how do I power myself through this? How do I live this thing out in a way that I, on a day-to-day basis, encourage and support and nurture people's thinking in order to overcome the storms in their life? And it's like, it wasn't a why is this happening to me as much as it is, oh, it seems to be my turn. It seems to be my turn. And I pay really close attention to those experiences as a person in the storm. But also, some of the benefit of the storm for me is it allows me to be more humanly connected to the people that I work with. It's hard to help people overcome tragedy when there is none. Guys, we're not really growing when things are wonderful. So wishing for a perfect life, wishing for a life where things stay good and healthy and positive and upbeat and rah, that's not only is that not realistic, but what we're really saying is, I don't want to grow anymore. Now I just want to have fun. When we grow is when crap hits the absolute fan. And maybe you've recently been there. Maybe you're there right now. Or maybe you're preparing for the storm. Maybe you look up into the visual of your life and you see the clouds coming. And so I want to talk about that today, because the vast majority of people in the storm crumble. And not only do they crumble, but they never rebound. They never rebound. And that's the tragedy. So the tragedy isn't that we experience storms. The tragedy isn't that we experience bad news or something bad done to us or something bad that we've created in ourselves. That is not the tragedy. That will never be the tragedy. That's normal life. And it's an opportunity for growth. The tragedy is when people hit the dark storm and you never hear from them again. So, I'm glad to be back. Sermon is about conversation. The topic today is hardships to victory. So, some of you who follow me on Facebook may have recognized that recently I posted a quote, and it was a picture. It's got a picture of my son, and which the dude's just like photogenic. I know Daddy's not, you know, but he gets his looks from his mom. So grateful for that. So the quote that I posted the other day, my son and I, we had a basketball game. I coach his basketball team, have been since he was 4. And after his basketball game, I'm like, all right, papas, which can be translated as potatoes, or in the Latino culture, is what we call little men, right? And so, all right, after his basketball game, all right, I'm like, all right, papas, what do you want to do today? And sometimes he wants to just relax. A lot of times he wants to go swimming. Sometimes we'll go for a little jog. But he said, Daddy, I want to go to the beach. And so we just came home really quick, grabbed some stuff, and I booked a quick little spot in Seaside, and we went for a vacation. And it was powerful because he was taking some really great pictures, or I was taking pictures of him just enjoying his experience. And just like a lot of us, I was able to relate some of the images that I was seeing to the current experience, which, as I mentioned, if you just logged on, was very dark, clouded, horrifying experience is what I was going through for the last couple of months. And I started thinking about this idea where in the hardships, I know when we're going through stuff, one of our natural reactions is to reach out to people for comfort. I don't know about you, I'll call people. I'll call people that, and it's sometimes hard this way, but I'll call people who won't tell me what I want to hear, which, by the way, is a really wonderful strategy. Do not call people who will tell you what you want to hear. Hey, they're just bringing sand to the beach. All right? It is really critical that in times of storms, you call people that may not tell you what you want to hear. But I wanted to speak really quickly to that reflex about why. I don't know why we do that. Every time when something goes wrong, we want to reach out. And I know that it's essential for comfort, and I know that it's important for support. But getting in the habit of constantly reaching out to people, what that does is the benefit is we get that support. The benefit is that we get that comfort. But one of the shadows to that approach is when you look at all other times in our life, when we get hurt, when we get cut, when we get bruised, there is an element about ourselves where the body wants to heal itself also. But see, we set aside the power within us in order to draw to us power from some outside source. And a lot of times it doesn't sustain. It encourages, but it doesn't sustain. The quote was, "Sometimes you have to be the sun that shines on your own darkness." And I know what that meant for me. What that meant for me was, I do that. When I'm in my darkness, when I'm in a darkness, when the clouds are over me, I look outside of myself, completely forgetting that, man, there's a lot of power in me. In the same way that you forget there's a lot of power in you. Because, by the way, every single person who watches this, you know that you've gone through some crap. You've gone through experiences that and the time were just overwhelming. And now you could look back, whether it's 6 months, a year, 8 years, and say, God, that was a horrible period of time. But you forget that you made it. That any obstacle, any challenge, if it had the power to destroy you, you wouldn't have moved on to the next one. And we forget that when we start reaching out to people. I need to make this phone call. I need to hear, this is what happened. This is what, oh, you'll never know, believe what they did. You know, it's just that. As opposed to taking a small stance and saying, you know what? Sometimes I just have to be the sun that shines on my own darkness. That when I'm in the darkness and when the clouds are over me, that what reflects back to that darkness is not pity, is not sadness, is not a sense of defeat, or it's not a somebody please help me do. It is in you. We forget how badass we really are. We forget how strong we are. We forgot that we learned through those last challenges. And they're unavoidable. They are. But this reliance of others cheats us out of that. The power is in us. Now, everybody's got different sources that fuel that in you. Now, I'm not a religious guy. For me personally, Christ is a big part. The main part. The foundation in me that helps me to deal with these things. But that doesn't have to be you. That's you. Everyone has the freedom to have a source in them. But the objective is to see that it's in us, guys. In my work as a drug and alcohol counselor locally, I've learned one thing. 90% of addicts that I've ever worked with have this thing where they come in and they say, I just want to get back to being the person I was before drugs destroyed my life. In relationships, I work as a coach for people in relationships. And by the way, the relationships in this world today are suffering. The divorce rate continues to skyrocket. The rate at which people are separating continues to skyrocket. The rate at which kids have to bounce back and forth from one house to the other until they're adults is skyrocketing. And what people want is they want to get back to that place before things got bad. And so we reach out. We want to share. We want insight. We want advice. Guys, what I say to people is, why do you want to get back to who you were before the mess? When if who you were before the mess was enough, the mess would have never unfolded. We have this mentality is I just want to get back. And I say, how about instead of being the old you before things got problematic, because new storms will come, how about instead of that, preparing ourselves for the next storm by becoming someone we've never been? I don't have an interest in being who I was 6 months ago. That cat wasn't ready for the mess. I don't want to be who I was 5 years ago, because that cat wasn't ready to prevent the messes that unpacked either, and 10 or 15 years ago. I want to spend today partnering with a mentality to become a person that I've never been before. I owe that to myself. I owe that to my son. I owe that to the guy that I will be in a year. So for the next storm, I'll be ready to conquer another one, to be engaged in the learning. See, it's important for me because, man, I understand that as a father, especially every time, as a parent, every single time that you walk out into the community and live and do this lifing thing that we're a part of, we get to demonstrate exactly how much we love our kids according to how we overcome. And see, this dark stage that I went through, I kept having like a victim mentality, and I know that we do that. Like, man, this thing's bigger than me. I need to call people, and I get up support. I need to find support. You know what? Sooner or later, I just had to look in the mirror and say, dude, you're bigger than this. Everything that you've done and everything that you've become and the relationships that you've built and the way you've parented your son and the business that you've established and the way you've activated in yourself into the community is bigger than the storm. And you guys forget that. I'm seeing a lot of names right now on this feed, and all I see is badass, 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 badass. I see Antonio Mercado, I see Renee, I see Bart, I see Crystal, I saw AJ earlier, I see Jerron, I see nothing but people who just consistently overcome odds. And we forget that in the storm. And so I'm just here to remind us, because I know it's been a powerful reminder for me, that it doesn't matter how big the storm is. Look at how you've managed to overcome. Look at the power inside you. So this reflex of seeking support out there has a limit. Ultimately, we have to look in the mirror and say, you forgot. You forgot how incredible you are. You forgot that when that one thing came up that was supposed to destroy you, you overcame it. You forgot. You forgot that even when that storm was looming over you, you were still able to be a wonderful mom. You forgot that even though you lived this lifestyle that was supposed to absolutely derail you, you rebounded, and now you're raising wonderful kids. You have a great job. You give back to people. You create experiences for your kids like you're doing life. You forgot. And I wanted to take some time this morning to remind you not to. It's great to reach out, but don't let reaching out stop you from being the sun that shines on your own darkness. It's in us. We're bigger than the storm. What we've done is bigger than the damage that it could cause. You got this far. There will be another one around the corner, but you're bigger. Everything that you've done speaks louder than the storm in your life. Guys, it's great to be back on Sunday Sermon. It's been wonderful to kind of really get back into preparing. And because for me as a person, it really keeps me connected to people. So thank you so much for watching. I see TJ there. TJ, miss you, man. I wish we could spend some time together. Talk about a guy. I won't put him on blast completely, but talk about a guy that just, I see you being an incredible dad to your daughter, bro. I see that. And you and I both know, without going into detail, life could have been very different. Where possibly we're watching our kids grow from the other side of a cell or from the streets. And so I'm proud of you, bro. I'm I'm proud of you. Things could have been different. And look at you now, man. Business guy, serving people, being an incredible dad. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what drives me to do these things, is because I see the power out there of people having gone through storms that were supposed to derail them. And look at you now. It's in us. Guys, have a wonderful day. It's been great to be here. Looking forward already to next Sunday's sermon. Have a blessed day. Love your family. Love your kids. And love yourself. Take time today to look in the mirror and say, you're doing it. You're doing it. Guys, be blessed. I'm out.